theme music.
Yo, so I just want to point out this is therapy for us all. Like week in, week out. We look forward to it.
Listen,
Fellas,
it's
it's
just
gonna be
some,
one of them nights.
it's gonna be. I'm telling you. Another Tuesday night at 9, man. Prototype Dad in the building, man. What's going on? Me and Leaper Scales here tonight, chopping it up. How you feeling tonight, brother?
Oh man, I'm here. Feeling all right.
Yeah, man. Man, I don't know why. I, you know what it feels like. So our season ended yesterday. Our little T-ball season ended yesterday,
Hmm.
and we're transitioning into the playoffs. But it's like they're putting the brackets together. So we have all this week, like a 2 week of nothing. And I feel like you know how remember you used to have that whole season and then you have nothing and you're just like, damn, I'm bored, or you don't know what to do with your afternoon.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at today. You know what I'm saying? I know it's gonna pick back up, but I'm in a space of I don't got nothing to do with myself. And it's I don't like it. You know what I mean? You always find trouble. That's when we always would get in trouble. Like when that time of we're not doing nothing right now, and right after that wraps up, you always find trouble just because you're just bored or something. Man, I got a lag or something. Are you seeing a delay or? Yeah, I just
Yeah,
got.
there's been a delay for you the past few weeks.
Yeah, dang.
Yeah, it's been the past few weeks. I
It's
didn't
been
know.
showing in the clips.
Yeah, it's been shown in the clips. I just had to know if it was my internet or whatever.
No,
You
it
know what
got
I
to be
mean?
mine
Playing, so
then.
I'm not sure if it's the full, you know what I mean, or if it's just the bad internet for me up on the third floor. So
You know, I switched internets as P's, man, and I'm going back when I move. I'm going back to the old one, which is the business. Uh,
yeah.
but going off of this regular, I need something strong. But kind of want to get into a little bit of the weekly news and the music categories, and so you see they're reconstructing this bridge, right? And they're working, they're pulling this thing out the water. What is it? I was about to call it the Chesapeake Bridge, but you know the bridge in Baltimore.
Yeah.
And you know, an interesting thing I've been thinking about, because we was kind of on the skeptical side of, is this a conspiracy theory? Like, is this something that just happened, or was this truly an accident? And looking up the contractors, I bet we could follow the money through the contractors. It's gonna come up later. The contractors that are like pulling the stuff out the water and doing all this stuff, it's going to come out later on how this was a whole thing, just like 9/11 or whatever. Like, oh, the owners of the bridge had some type of insurance out on it, and that's how they collected. It's going. I just feel it. I just feel it because they're doing like a live broadcast on the cleanup.
Yeah.
I don't know if you
It's
caught
all.
it.
I don't know. I didn't catch any of it, man. I've been uh focused on some other stuff, but I always wonder about stuff like that. You know what I mean? Because I know that I think the federal government has like an emergency fund or whatever for certain stuff like this. So I always wonder, like, because nobody's been paying attention to these bridges and this stuff for a long time. I mean, here in Pittsburgh, we had a couple bridges collapse. You know what I
Mm.
mean? While people were on them all over the United States. That's what they did. And now you have President Biden with this American infrastructure bill and all of this stuff. Like all of this is
Mm.
happening right too close to election,
Oh,
election season, where all this stuff. Oh, now you're trying to push this. Oh, we're gonna build more in America. We're gonna build infrastructure. We're gonna do all this stuff. And now these bridges that have been tested already within the past year or two and tested well are now all of a sudden they're not sound. Now, whether or not that means they weren't sound from the get go or whatever it may be, but you know what I mean? All these things collapsing right around this time. And
election
then,
time. It's always
Yeah,
something.
it's always something that, you know what I mean, that goes along with the election and makes you start thinking like, and I'm always thinking deeper, like, what's the story behind the story? So I always think about that. And then like even like locally, I think on another episode I was talking about how, the different organizations like the Norfolk Southern, the train company, plus the Port Authority and the borough were all fighting over who was going to pay for this bridge. That's, what I mean, that's starting to come apart and things like that, because basically the railroad owns the bridge, but the Port Authority uses part of the railway as their busway, and then the borough usually has control over maintenance of the top of the walkable, drivable part of the bridge. So everybody's fighting over who can, who's going to pay
It's
for
on
the
some
bridge,
Carnegie Mellon stuff, basically.
kind of like that. But if and while they're all fighting over this, but if something happens that makes it a disaster or an emergency, then now I think you could tap into federal emergency funds. So I always worry about who's making what happen in order to, be
Push the
able to
needle,
tap
yeah.
into some emergency funds or whatever like that. You know what I mean? So I'm always worried about stuff like that. Like, because sometimes the timing of it don't make sense.
Yeah, like why now? You just reminded me. Remember the Fifth Element? Is that the name of the movie? When
Another one with Bruce Willis.
Bruce Willis and Chris, I think that was Chris Tucker's. You know how they make him wear the dresses. That might have been his movie in the dress. But
okay, where he had that little blouse on or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But the villain always talked in that movie. Always talked about making destruction, so things could come clean it up, and he can make money based off of the destruction.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so that was the whole plot behind the movie. Like, yeah, I just want to make money. I'm gonna destroy XYZ, the infrastructure, so more
So they
people
can pay me to build it back.
Yeah, so they can pay me to make more money. Yeah. So, man, they go into, it's interesting, man. It kind of switch gears a little bit into music, right? Is that the R&B dude in his time of every rap beef, and the R&B dude got the hottest track out. That's crazy to me. You on mute?
I don't know how I muted. I'd say, are we talking about Drake or Chris Brown?
You talking about Chris Brown? I don't think the Drake thing was dope with the AI thing.
Yeah.
Did you hear that AI little mix?
I did hear a few snippets of the AI with Snoop and Tupac in there.
It was weird.
I just thought it was super weird. Yeah, I thought it was super
Yeah.
weird. But I mean, I guess if he can use ghostwriters, he can also use AI too. So
Yeah,
I mean, it is what it is. I didn't hear the Chris Brown thing though. I didn't hear it. The verse. I just heard some chatter about certain things he was saying.
Chris Brown came out with the hardest diss out of all this rap beef stuff going around. But at Quavo, which it sounds way too soft to be true, but the Quavo thing, he came back with one too. That was just as hard. But I think Chris Brown has more fans. I was definitely arguing it about with Lindy, and she was saying how like Chris Brown she likes the Chris Brown version better, but I think it's just an R&B thing.
Yeah, and I mean, I think because Chris Brown was a solo artist, you know what I mean. So all his fans were his fans. Quavo was part of a threesome, so his fans are part of the group. Yeah, his fans are part of the group.
Yeah. No Diddy. You can't be saying stuff like that no more. So, man, what inspired today's conversation, right? So, kind of, and I kind of sent this over to our guy Hit Me, but there was a clip that I seen where the kid was saying to the parent, "You never buy me anything," and the parent went around putting like bows on the appliances, like Bose on the gas, Bose on the water faucet. Like this is your gift, like the water faucet. You know what I mean? Like you got running water, don't you? Or you got gas for the heat, don't you? You know what I mean? Like these things that they're providing. Should a child be appreciative of those type of things? How do you feel about that?
Well, I mean, I think they should. I don't think they will. Well, I think based on their environment and the environment of their peers, if they come from an environment where the people around them aren't used to having running water, or ain't used to having gas, or are used to the electricity getting cut off all the time. I think the kids will be a little more appreciative in some of that, in some regard. But I think everybody is, especially in this era where you don't have to go to the school in your neighborhood. You can go to pretty much any school that the bus will take you. You know what I mean? They have open enrollment, at least here in PA they do. They have open enrollment at pretty much all the schools. You can just, kind of apply or whatever. You get in the school district buses you there. That in addition to, private schools and charter schools. You're not necessarily, around the people in your neighborhood. You know what I mean? In school, you're around other kids from other different neighborhoods and things like that. So their lifestyles might be different. So a lot of times our kids start looking at what they got and trying to measure, what they have in their lives and their households by what other families have or what other kids have. And, that can really start to, brew up a sense of entitlement, or I should have more, or why don't I have these things, and make them really not appreciate the things that they do have. But I think that, things like that are especially for our kids and stuff like that. I think more in our generation and the generation before, like, I would say simple things like running water, a working toilet, a toilet in the house. Because, you know what I mean? It wasn't too long ago that they didn't have plumbing or toilets in the house. You had to go out in the outhouse. You know what I mean? So, like, that's not too far away. So, I think they should be appreciative. I just don't think they are.
I don't think they should be appreciative of basic needs that they should be provided. Only because it's like they didn't ask to be here. So the fact that they have running water or a roof over their head, like I put them in the situation. You would hope that I could at least provide them the same little things that I have, right? I guess you could always look at it from a situation of um, where you're from, based on where somebody else is from, and the things uh, different cultures have, not even cultures, but different households might have, right? Like maybe you don't have like maybe somebody had the new Sega. Remember we some people had the Sega, and you're still stuck on the Game Boy or something like that. But like maybe like, oh, they're cool. They got a Sega. I don't think that's necessary. But then again, you put them in a situation. You should be. You should, okay. Kids need entertained. So that's on you to entertain that child, and just the fact that you bless them, or you're blessed to provide these things. I don't think it's their fault if they appreciate it or not. They could just throw it out. They should have that option to be like, throw it out and not appreciate it at all. And you can't. I don't think you should really have to hold them accountable for that. As far as
Yeah,
the
I don't know.
appreciation,
I got a little pushback on that, man. I don't, just because and I hear people say that all the time, that it just doesn't make any sense to me. But just because we brought them in this world doesn't mean they shouldn't have some appreciation for the things that we're providing. Yeah, it's our responsibility. But I mean, even I always have a level of appreciation, even at the age I'm at, for the things that I'm doing, or the things that I have in my life, and the things that I'm able to provide, because I see the other side of that. You know what I mean? I work with a lot of people who are, who struggle with mental health, and they struggle with maintaining housing, maintaining jobs. A lot of houseless individuals. You know what I mean? A lot of people in shelters. Whatever shelter it may be, whether it's a battered women's shelter, whether it's a homeless shelter, whether it's a shelter for veterans. So I'm always appreciative of those things, even though because I have the capability to work and provide those things. But that I don't think that just because we brought them in this world that they should be void of appreciation of those basic things, because there are a lot of people who, even though they brought the kids into the world and they're trying their best, they're still not able to provide in that way. So I think there still should be a level of appreciation for what we're doing. Not to say that, oh, you're lucky to have this. I mean, in some ways they are, but just in a way to not build up that sense of entitlement. Like, you're not entitled to a dang thing in this world. So you should be appreciative of what we're able to provide you, because there are millions, if not billions, of other families who don't have the basic necessities that we have.
But you only could judge that based on what somebody else does or do not have, right? So, like, I'm not saying they shouldn't be appreciative. I'm just saying we shouldn't hold it against them for not being appreciative. Because whatever we're able to provide them, like I said, we put them in a situation, and we shouldn't be selfish. I never understood parents that like had like food and stuff from their kids, like that kind of stuff, like, oh, this is mine, or hoard things away from them, or try to keep things away. I mean, that's a whole nother topic. But I just feel like, yes, we should definitely teach them how to be appreciative, and let them get them to understand that everybody might not be allotted what you're getting. But if they don't, I say it's completely on them to be like, whatever, I forego it. You know what I'm saying? I don't gotta be appreciative of that. You're my dad or you're my mom. What you think you're supposed to do?
Yeah, I don't subscribe to that bull crap at all. You're gonna appreciate everything thing I do, or those extras that aren't necessities you won't get. Like, you know what I mean? If you don't appreciate the hard work that I put in to provide the basics, then how you gonna appreciate the extra stuff? You, like I said, that's gonna build up a sense of entitlement to me, and that's what I have a problem with. Them going out into the world thinking that they're entitled to something. For me, I want them to feel like when they leave my house, and that's the way I look at everything. Is when they leave my house, what are they thinking about?
Or
Are
they
they
be
going out in the
functional.
world? Yeah, are they going out in the world thinking that they're supposed to get this job because they're entitled to it? Or are they supposed to get this because they're entitled to it? No, the world ain't fair. And just because you should get it, don't mean you will get it. So, I always want them to, have some sense of, of appreciation, humility, to be able to say, you know what, I'm going to do what I can to go out here and get it and make it happen regardless. And I'm going to appreciate everything I get from it.
So I think the boundaries are important as far as the extra stuff you. So I'm not a fan of taking my kids on extravagant vacations. Those are for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I'm not taking my kids to Bali. So I think those things I think that's my way of trying to say, I'm going to Bali, and if you want to go to Bali, then when you get here, you know what I'm saying, when you get to this level, you want to pay for your own trip to Bali. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not going to like. But as far as like making them feel guilty for having food, water, eat, I think that's wrong. Now, extra stuff, you know what I'm saying, like vacations or uh whatever kind of Nikes, or I mean the extravagant ones, or buying them like BMWs or anything like that, or even cars. You know what I'm saying? So I kind of want to ask the question about uh should you make them pay bills when they finally get their job?
Are we talking about what them being grown, or them being like
16.
teenagers in high
Teen-
school?
They're teenagers, and they got a job, you know what I mean, working at McDonald's or wherever, the grocery store or something like that, right? Do you
Yeah.
make them pay rent?
No, I mean, I wouldn't personally, but I would probably make them take over some of
Their
their
own
like
expenses.
yeah, some of their leisure things that I might be doing. You know what I mean? Some If I might, give you some, put money on your bus pass or something like that, or if I would do some extra little things like that aren't really necessities, that are just, extras that you're just going take care of. Because most of the time, specifically, I might put some money on, or get a bus pass, for my daughter to get to and from school. That way she has the flexibility to catch the, you know, public transportation to school if she misses the school bus or whatever, or if she has to stay late for track or whatever, she could just catch the bus home. But in the summer, it's you ain't going to school now. Now you're using the bus pass for your leisure. So if if you're working,
Oh, so the summer
something.
bus pass you got to pay for.
Yeah, the summer
During
bus
the
pass.
school,
The
I
summer
got it.
bus pass. Yeah, the summer bus pass. That's you. That's on you. You're going to go visit friends. You're going to go to the mall. You're going to go have fun, whatever. That's on you. You know what I mean? So that's how I would balance that. You know what I mean?
Is the bus system still the
from
same?
when it's the bus system is probably yes and no. I mean they have I mean it's a lot more convenient than when we was growing up because now they got the bus.
I mean,
and
well, it
stuff
was
and shit,
convenient when we was growing up, so it's more.
Yeah,
convenient
it was
now.
convenient, but it was long. Like there was like long wait times in between when the next bus was coming. Sometimes, you know what I mean, depending on when you was going. But now they're running a little bit more often. They have a few more stops. I mean, there's still blind spots in the transit system where people complain about it, but where we live at, I mean, you can't complain about the bus system at all. It comes straight through here to go everywhere, pretty much.
Man, like I ain't seen a bus in a long time, bro. I haven't seen a bus, so that's why I'm kind of asking. Like, man, like, is that still? I'm way off topic, but
yeah,
like, dang, like I don't see buses where I'm at. I don't know if a transit system would be successful. I mean, it probably would be, but we don't have the roads like we did at home. You know what I'm saying? So, but you're saying so a cell phone bill, is that something they should pay for, or is that something that we should keep on our books? Because you got to keep track of your kid.
yeah. That's a tricky one because I'm not really a fan of the kids having cell phones anyway. So, that's a tricky one. I think probably less the cell phone bill and probably more like the extra games and apps you got to pay for, like the in phone apps and things like that. If you're working, you have to pay for those extra things. But the bill itself, might be something that I or mom would cover. You know what I mean? But then all of those different things that you want to pay for within the phone or whatever,
the Robux.
It's on you. You handle that while you got a job.
Is Robux 1-to-1? Like, is that $1 for $1?
Roblox.
Robux, like so. There's Robux.
The Robux for the Roblox.
Yeah, is it a 1-to-1?
Okay. I have no idea.
I gotta look into
just
it.
hack up the name. I don't really know.
Listen,
my nephew's used it before, so he asked for it for Christmas.
I got a kid on my team who was like, who didn't function. He wouldn't run bases. He wouldn't necessarily hit. Like he just did the bare minimum. I found out this kid plays Roblox, and I told this kid, I said, you know what? Every base you make until you get a Robux. So now he's under contract. You know what I'm saying? And ever since he had that incentive, he been running fast. I'm like, where does this dude get speed from? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's crazy how like a 6-year-old will be like, oh yeah, I need them Robux. Like, and then like his parents be telling me like, hey, my money's not in my account. So I gotta figure out if it's a 1-to-1 because I'm gonna have to pay this dude by the end of the season.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so
I have no idea. I have no idea how that works. I don't even know. Like I said, my nephew had asked for something for Christmas or something like that, and I think my wife took care of it. But I didn't know. You see me, I hacked the name up, so I wasn't really sure what was what.
So the other thing, so we taking care of the cell phone bill. We're not charging them for rent. We're taking over some the school year transportation, but not the summer.
Not the summer. Unless you go into summer school, and hopefully you're not. Unless you're just taking extra classes so you can graduate early.
Okay, so there's the incentive, right? If you're taking extra classes, is it back on?
Yeah, if you're taking extra classes, AP classes or something, so you could graduate early or get college credit, then that's something that, you know what I mean, we could, I could put the bill for it.
To work too. I think that's important. I think we should cover that as well.
I mean, if to work, I'm usually probably picking up and dropping off, depending on the time. So,
there'd be that. Yes,
I'm paying the gas. You know what I mean, to pick up and drop off.
So, what do they do with their funds? Because we're at that age where our kids is like, we got some teenagers now.
Yeah. I forced my daughter like off top. Like soon as the check comes in, I set her up with open up her bank account and everything, set her up with direct deposit for her checks. So as soon as her check comes in, I get notification that her check comes in. I take 20% off the top and I put that into a savings account. So that's every check that came in automatically. I take a percentage out of that and I put it in savings so she don't even see it. You know what I mean? Because if she see it, she thinks it's available to spend. So I force her to, to start thinking about saving, even if she really doesn't want to. She already knows, like the tax man is taking the money off top, savings is getting taken off top. So that's what I do. I don't necessarily monitor all every cent coming in and out, but if I see big purchases or something like that coming out the account, because her account is connected to mine, so I can see every individual purchase everywhere. So I'm looking at it and I'll be like, oh, you're getting low on cash, or you're starting to spend too much, or you're spending money on this, or you know what I mean? Just try to let her know, like, hey, you're running out of money, so you might want to work some more hours.
When do the water get cut off? What's the proper age to cut the water off? As far as
As far as financial support,
yeah.
I don't know if I'm ever cutting the water off.
Ooh.
I don't know if I'm ever cutting the water off. What I will say is it won't be as fruitful. Like it won't be as often as like, like if you're just habitually making bad decisions with money or things like that, you know what I mean? Like I'm not going to keep trying to save you from that. At some point in time, you got to figure it out. But
19, 20, 25, you're paying the rent still.
Well, I'm not necessarily paying the rent, but I'll assist. You know what I mean? That's what I mean by not cutting the water off. Like I'm not going to completely shut you out. Like if you need assistance, you know what I mean? I'll probably assist. Or even if I don't, mom is probably going to assist.
Would you say that's more you being a parent, or is that more you having a relationship as far as peer-to-peer relationship?
I think what it is for me, it's showing that I have, especially if they don't live with me, showing that I have faith that they can make it on their own, but also letting them know that they don't have to make it on their own right now, especially a daughter. You know what I mean? Like, I think Reese say it all the time, you're under my covering until you're under someone else's covering. So, I want to make sure that she knows, or my kids know that, you know what I mean? You're under our covering until you get to that next level and you're under somebody else's covering. So, just having that lifeline there that, and it may not be a spoken of lifeline where you have it. It's just in my head, I know that something could pop up, you know what I mean? Or something could happen. So I'm making sure that I got something, set aside just for those rainy days where something might happen and we get a call and now you need some assistance or whatever. And we making sure, you're taken care of.
Don't you fear the failure to launch, right? Because I know what propelled you in your desire to succeed is the lack of support, right? The phone call home saying, "Hey, I need help," and getting hung up on, right? That changed your whole dynamic. So why wouldn't you then return that kind of lesson?
Well, I don't necessarily. First of all, my kids aren't me, and second of all, I don't necessarily think that helped me to succeed, because at that point, like I had already been succeeding at that point. I had already, had 2 degrees by that point. I had already been working. I had already moved away from home and was living on my own in a whole nother state. You know what I mean? Like there was already different levels of success. What I think is it grew me up a little bit and made me, I guess a lot. It made me recognize that, mom and dad wasn't always going to be there to get me out of my troubles, as they've been doing my whole life. Every time I, do some dumb stuff, you know what I mean? Mom and dad was helping me out of it. You know what I mean? It got to a level where, it was like, Pops was like, hey, and whether he meant to or not, you know what I mean? Whether it was intentional or not, like that's what it did. It let me know, like, hey, you're grown now. You got to stand on your own too. You know what I mean? So that means making better decisions. So at that point, that's when I realized, okay, it's time for me to stop playing around and stop being a boy and grow up and be a man and make better decisions and understand that now Mom and dad ain't coming to save me. And if I would have called the next time, they might have. You know what I mean? They might have came to the rescue, but I never called again for it. You know what I mean? Now it was just, you know what I mean? That one no is all I needed. You know what I mean? That one no, and now I figured it out. Like, okay, it's time to get it together.
At that point, do you say I'm no longer supporting you as well? Like, because I mean, at the time they're gonna make that call to you, like, hey, I need such and such. I need you to come change my diaper. You doing that?
Absolutely not. I don't think that's it. I don't. First of all, I'm not changing a diaper. Like, I think I'm going to have somebody who is skilled and trained to change said grown-up diapers do that. But I don't think the support from me would stop because they stopped at some point. I think at some point a parent does have to say, like, we've been doing this over and over and over and over and over, and nothing has changed. So now it's time for us to change our behavior to try to prompt you to change your behavior. And I think whether it was something that was well thought out and well intentioned, that's what it did. It allowed me to say, okay, Mom, and like I said, they may have came to my rescue the next time. That time just might not have been the right time, or just it wasn't something that they can help me out with, being that we lived in different states and things like that. So it was more just like, in my head, it was like, okay, I gotta stop whatever I'm doing. I gotta get out of that. Like, that ain't even cool no more. I'm too old for this mess. So, that's where it just clicked for me.
So I've been listening to this book with Elevate and Dominate by Deion Sanders. I probably said it on the pod a few times, right? One of his driving factors was to take care of his mom so she never had to work, retire his parents. That was one of his driving factors to become successful. And it made me think, like, should we feel obligated to retire our parents or take care of our parents when we get older? Personal story, right? A guy was calling my father for a long time. I'm actually named after him. I'm not biologically his, but as we're getting older, and I knew he wasn't making great decisions about his health, I don't want to flip that bill. It was actually one of the driving factors. I was like, man, I really don't want to take care of this dude. He has biological kids that I think this problem should be allotted to, and I don't think I should have to take this on. But should I feel obligated to take on any parental? Like, should I, like, okay, Mom, you got to come live with me now that you're too old, or should I feel guilty for not wanting to do those things? What's your take on that?
That's a good question. I don't necessarily. I think it just. I guess it's situational. As far as retiring somebody or something like that, like, I always feel like it's difficult for me because I always, how I try to look at things is from the standpoint of wealth being passed down and not wealth being pushed backwards. You know what I mean? Because I think oftentimes that happens in our community a lot. Can't really speak for other communities, and I hate to, so I won't. But in our community, it always seems like, especially if that you got that one kid or that those two kids that make it out, or go to the NBA, or make it in music, or make it big here. They're first thing, oh, I'm gonna buy mom a home, or I'm gonna retire my mom, and I'm gonna do XYZ. And you start spending money backwards. You start putting money backwards to start, instead of pushing it forward. And that you kind of further that generational wealth gap by doing that. Now, not to say you can't help them out and you can't do something, but I think it should always be pushing forward. And with that being said, if something was to happen, your mom or your dad or whatever gets sick, and they need 24-hour care or whatever, around the clock care or whatever, and the doctors are saying they can't live on their own no more, they need, what I mean, and you have the ability and you have the space in your home, I mean, I think it would be, nice of you to take them in and, maybe have the nurses and stuff come in the house and, take care of them. But I don't necessarily think that it is your responsibility to do it. Hope you would do it, but I don't necessarily think it's your responsibility. But
Why?
whether or
Why do
not,
you hope? Why do you hope somebody do that? Right? Is it
well,
because
because
it's a good thing to do, or do
no,
you
because
like
it's your parents. You know what I mean? Because it's your parents. You know what I
right?
mean? Who could
But you
who
already
could who
said
could
what
watch
goes
over and
down.
take care of your parents? Yeah, but who could watch over and take care of your parents better than you? You know what I mean? Or at least facilitate it. Because even if you put them in a home or space out there, you're not there 24 hours a day. And in a lot of those places, those workers and those people are abusing those elders in there. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. In some parts of me,
So is it? So is it
I
your
feel more comfortable
responsibility to
having them in
make
my
sure you
place.
have enough means where you're taking care of yourself, where you can retire and take care of yourself without your children's assistance?
I mean, I think that would be nice, right? But life happens. So, anything can happen, and medical bills tend to be expensive. So if you end up having a lot of medical issues, that can really harm you or hurt you. It can harm your ability to work and earn, especially if you have those medical conditions early on, in the age range before you retire or whatever. Like, a lot of things can happen. The best laid plans often, fail. So, I just saying, if you have the means and your parents are in need of some assistance as far as health wise or need somewhere to stay or something like that, and you had the space and the ability, then it would be nice if you would do it. I'm not saying that you're obligated to do it or you should feel obligated to do it, but family helps family. So
I could dig that. Family helps family, and it's more of a good deed thing. I just I just hate when parents say, "Oh, I took care of you, so you should take care of me." And I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah.
I didn't ask you.
That
I
is a
didn't ask you
horrible
to be
form of
here.
manipulation. Horrible
Yeah,
form of manipulation.
yeah. So I was like, oh, I raised you, and I gave you the best that you can. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, I didn't. Hey, you were supposed to, and you shouldn't make me feel ashamed that I don't want to do it in return for you. You know what I mean? I have
Yeah,
my
you're trying
own
to make me pay a debt that I didn't ask for.
right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So no, so those things definitely, kind of played on my head. Like he was so driven, like, oh, I wanted to retire my mom. I want to, I want to do this for my mom. Look, my mom's retired, and I understand that having a motivating factor is one thing, but making somebody feel guilty for, um, and I'm even dealing with that now, right? Like, oh, I did this for you, did that for you. You know what I'm saying? But maybe I was wrong in that, in thinking like, oh, you owe me this because I feel I'm going above and beyond, but I'm supposed to. You know what I'm saying? As a parent, I'm supposed to go above and beyond for my children without expecting them to give me anything in return. It's not their fault that they don't want to give me or return the favor. You know what I'm saying? Now if they got a poor sense of character, then maybe that's my fault for not teaching them proper character in my parenting. But if I drop the ball on character building, uh, I can't really blame them for not wanting to be like, you know what, Dad, this is corny. I'm done. I don't, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to do that, or I don't want to feel like I owe you anything because I ain't asked to be here and you put me in this situation.
And that's a harsh reality of everything, man. And not just with your kids, man. That's just a harsh reality of life. Nobody owes you a goddamn thing. No matter how much you do for them, no matter how much it's well intentioned, no matter how much it comes from the heart, and you know what I mean? No matter what it is that you do, nobody owes you anything. You know what I mean? What you decide to do for somebody else, you made a conscious decision in yourself to do it for them. And if you never get anything back, even appreciation, it sucks, but they don't know you anything, and that the better and the faster you realize that, the less hurt you'll feel when you don't get nothing back. Because oftentimes, and what people often say, well, it didn't come from a pure heart. You didn't give this, from your heart. If you expect something back, well, it's like, it's not necessarily expecting something back. It's just like, it'd be nice if you thought of me. Like I thought of you, in your time of need. But, in reality, man, nobody really owes you anything. You know what I mean? That's why you don't give what you can't afford to live without.
Lose. Yeah.
But you can't afford to live without. You just don't give, because it's it's not going to always be the return that you think. And if it comes back full force, then that's great. I think we have to start training ourselves to stop looking for the return from the person and look for the return from God.
I knew he was going to say that. I knew he was going to say that. I was like, you better not say it.
I'm saying it because literally, man, you'll be so hurt and bitter all the time. Every time when you do something for somebody or you give something to somebody, and it might come from the best space, you know what I mean? But there'll be a time sometime where you're going to need something, and that person may or may not feel so inclined to do the same for you, and you can't really be butthurt about it.
Right.
You know
so
what I mean?
Kind of the last question is it best to live life selfishly?
I mean, I can't, just because I'm not built like that. You know what I mean? But sometimes I feel like it is best to live life selfishly. But do you really? I mean, what kind of life is that? You know what I mean? If you're only living to gratify yourself and what you want and what you need, like what kind of life is that? Like it's I don't know. It just seems so weird to me to think in terms of that. So I'm always thinking in terms of how I could be of service or how I can
it's the thing
help somebody.
If you don't give nothing, you don't expect nothing, and you'll never be heartbroken.
I don't know if that's true though. Just because you never give don't mean you ain't looking to receive. There's plenty selfish, stingy people that are freaking parasites, and all they do is feed off of others' kindness and generosity. So just because you're selfish and you don't give doesn't mean you're not looking to receive from people. So I mean, I don't know. I guess in a scenario where you were just selfish and you just looked out for yourself and you never asked or took anything from anybody else, which is probably not really a real thing, but maybe in that situation, yeah. But I don't even think in that situation you would end up being happy, because at some point in time, just getting and doing for yourself, it just becomes like, what am I here for? Like, what is this about? You might probably bring up bigger questions for you. So I think people derive purpose and joy a lot of times from giving and doing things for other folks. So I don't know that it would work out the way you think it would.
I just reflected. Remember, we had the show with Rob Butler, and he was talking exactly about this. Like, that's just the cost of being a parent. Putting your kids in all these opportunities, and if they piss it away, hey, that's just the cost of being a parent. You know what I mean? So it's like if you have it, you do it, right? But if selfish is the way to go to kind of protect yourself from the hurt or the heart pain or whatever, or the expectation of hurt of what could possibly hurt you because you're expecting to get in return, like you're taking care of your kids like this, XYZ, putting them in all this opportunity because you're hoping in return they could buy you the mansion. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I don't put my kids in the sports to hope they make it just so in return, like, oh, you can pay off my house, or you know what I'm saying, or you can buy me a bigger house or anything like that. Like, if they do it, and you're grateful. But it's nothing that I'm like trying to push, right? I think I've learned so much from this show is making sure the wealth goes down and not expecting anything to come back up. I think that's one of our main keys on this show. One of our main messages is to fix the intention of being a parent. Even to speak to that though, I don't encourage my kids to necessarily share. Like, I encourage them to say and express how they feel. And if they don't want to, if you don't want to share with his brother, hey, he said no, you don't want to share. You know what I mean? There's consequences to not sharing, right? But he doesn't want to share. He doesn't want to talk. You know what I'm saying? So when they're going through these different things, I mainly teach them this is an opportunity to respect other people's boundaries, opposed to getting mad that they don't want to include you in their current bubble. That makes sense. And
Yeah,
I love the fact that my kids say, "No, I don't want to. I don't want to do that. I'm not trying to do that." You know what I mean? And to get, I think that tends to breed a happier person in the long run, where you can say no and be comfortable within your no. And yes, I understand the repercussions of, hey, maybe I won't get nothing back in return, but I'm fine with what I have in my own space, opposed to giving out and then expecting something in return. Because a lot of people get hurt that way. I hear a lot of adults saying, "Oh, I let you into my house and I didn't." Here's an interesting story. Somebody needed help. Somebody was somebody had a house. Their niece was struggling. He said, "Hey, you and your family can come stay with me." And all he did was complain to me about how they ran his bills up. Like every time I talked to him, and I was like, "Yo, I don't want to hear about you helping somebody and you're mad because your bills became higher. Like it's kind of what you knew. You know what I'm saying? Like you knew that was going to happen, but you're doing it to help somebody, and you're complaining like, oh, they ain't paying me nothing. Well, you knew they didn't have. They're with you because they don't have nothing. You know what I'm saying? And I was like gracious enough. I was like, look, I don't want to hear the story anymore. Here's the money for that bill. So then he started trying to milk me. Like, no, I was not trying to hear the story anymore, and I thought I was being helpful. But now you think I'm the get you out of jail card, like, and I'm like, no, 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 no. That's not how this is working. You know what I'm saying? But you think somebody has pure intentions, but you just say how you feel. If you only if you can't stretch yourself, don't. And if you can, don't complain about the repercussions on the other end. And I think the best way to handle that kind of obligation is to make sure you set your boundaries and don't do anything you don't want to do.
see, but I think that's a key piece right there. Um, a part of this conversation and conversation of just being human and being an adult is the boundaries conversation. And I'm thinking like I'm just starting to have conversations around boundaries. So it's dope that you are, having these conversations and these intentional interactions with your kids to try to start creating boundaries right now because yeah, man, it's real easy to start living life and going on and about doing things and not setting these boundaries, and then you wonder why you're upset or you're frustrated or you're hurt down the line is because you didn't set those boundaries uh and
When you're young.
parameters up front.
Mhm.
Yeah, and you if you start when you're young, by the time you are grown, you have practice in doing it, and it's easier for you to just be like, no, you know what I mean? No, I don't like this, or no, this is what I'm willing to do, this is what I'm not willing to do. And being able to have those healthy conversations around uh, what it means to have boundaries and set boundaries, man. And I think like I said, I'm just starting to have these
Even if you
conversations and
think
learning about those boundaries.
right, but like even you think with us having young boys, right? You got a toddler, and he's like, I don't want to share this toy. This is my truck. Normally we'd be like, hey, share your toys with your friends. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm like, well, no, don't. You don't want to share, fine. You don't want to share. Hey, he don't want to share his toy right now. And I think some comfort happens there, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think there can be. The only thing that really worries me about that is if it goes too far. Like, how do you manage that when it's not just that you don't want to share your toy right now? Now you don't want to share anything. Like, anytime somebody has something, like you got two smaller. I guess with two smaller sons,
Hmm.
two younger sons.
Yeah.
Yeah. So say the one son has something that belongs to the other son, and the other son ain't even playing with it, but sees them playing with it, and now all of a sudden they want it now, and now they're trying to wrestle them and take it out of their hand. Like, yeah, I deal with that a little bit with my son.
Think about that though. Think
He'll
about
be playing with something, and now he's territorial and he wants it back, and I'm like, you weren't even playing with it. You're playing with something else.
But think about dealing with people like that, right? Those are interesting lessons for one to learn, right? Oh, this person is a Indian giver, or this person is a such and such. Don't deal with this kind of person. I'm teaching a whole character trait at that point, right? Discernment point, right? Like if you know this person will give you something and want to take it back, I'm just not gonna fool with that person in the first place. That saves a huge amount of heartache. You know what I mean? Coming down the line. To know that you can spot that person and not even interact with that person. Am I frozen? I'm definitely frozen.
Nah, you're not frozen. You're moving. I just couldn't tell. Sometimes because there's a delay, I can't tell when you start and when you finish. So I like try to wait a moment to see.
Yeah. So yeah. But yeah, man, I don't want to hold you too much, man. I think we got some good content, man, and I think we got a lot of clips out of this. Anything else you want to leave with, or did I spark anything you want to kind of express?
No, that's it, man. I think this was a good conversation, man. I like where it ended up going, and it allowed me to kind of touch on some things that I've been thinking about anyway. So yeah, I like where we went with this conversation.
Yeah, let that boy keep his toys. But yeah, that's another prototype dad. And we out. Peace. I'll have this uploaded in a second.